The Young and the Restless spoilers. The dimly lit corridors of the Abbott mansion held more secrets than any single person could ever uncover. But tonight, Alan was determined to add one more secret to its collection. A plan that, if successful, would shatter the lives of those around him and bring his beloved Jordan back into the fold. For months, he had bided his time, hiding in plain sight among the very people who would never suspect his true identity. Alan, known to the world as a mysterious figure shrouded in tragedy, returned to Genoa City with a singular purpose: to free Jordan from the prison that had kept her from him for far too long. But Alan knew he couldn't do it alone. His thoughts drifted to Claire, his daughter, though not in the way the world believed. Claire, who had been masquerading as the daughter of Victoria, was in truth his own flesh and blood, a fact known only to a few. Victoria had raised Claire as her own, unaware of the deception that had been woven into her life. And now, as Alan plotted his next move, he needed Claire more than ever. But there was a problem. Claire had found a new life, one that she seemed all too eager to protect. She had become accustomed to the comforts and luxuries that came with being a part of the Newman family, a life far removed from the one she had once known with Alan and Jordan. Alan's blood boiled at the thought of his daughter enjoying the fruits of a lie, while her mother languished behind bars. Late one night, Alan confronted Claire in the quiet solitude of the Abbott mansion, far from prying eyes. "Claire," he began, his voice a low growl filled with anger and frustration. "How can you stand by and live this life when your mother is rotting in prison? Have you forgotten where you come from? Have you forgotten who you really are?" Claire turned to face him, her eyes cold and unyielding. "I haven't forgotten anything, Alan," she replied, easing to call him Dad. The word felt foreign on her lips, a reminder of a past she had tried so hard to bury. "But this is my life now. I've made something of myself, and I'm not about to throw it all away for a woman who got herself locked up." Alan's eyes narrowed, his fists clenching at his sides. "She's your mother, Claire. She sacrificed everything for you, and now she needs your help. Are you really going to turn your back on her?" Claire shook her head, a bitter smile playing on her lips. "Don't you dare lecture me about sacrifice. You've been hiding in this mansion, scheming and plotting, while I've had to lie and pretend every single day. You think I don't know the price of keeping secrets? I've been paying it every day of my life." Alan took a step closer, his voice dropping to a dangerous whisper. "You have no idea what's at stake here. If you don't help me, Claire, I will tell the world the truth. I will expose you for the fraud you are. And then we'll see how quickly your precious new life falls apart." Claire's heart pounded in her chest, but she refused to show any sign of weakness. She had learned long ago how to hide her fear, how to play the game of deception that had become second nature to her. This was different. This was her father, the man who had shaped her into the person she was today, threatening to destroy everything she had built. "Go ahead," she challenged, her voice steady despite the turmoil inside. "Tell them. But know this. If you do, I will make sure you never get what you want. I will end you, Alan. I will make sure you never see the light of day again." The threat hung heavy in the air, the tension between them crackling like electricity. Alan stared at his daughter, the realization dawning on him that the little girl he had once known was gone, replaced by a woman who was as ruthless and calculating as he had ever been. And yet, despite the danger, he couldn't help but feel a twisted sense of pride. "Then we're at an impasse," Alan said finally, his voice calmer now, though no less dangerous. "But think about this, Claire. Your mother's life is in your hands. You can either help me free her, or you can watch as the truth comes out and everything you've worked for crumbles to dust." Claire's eyes flickered with a mix of emotions: anger, fear, and something else. Something deeper that she refused to acknowledge. She had spent so long distancing herself from her past, from the parents who had shaped her, that the idea of going back, even for a moment, was almost unbearable. She couldn't ignore the pull of loyalty, the sense of duty that tugged at her heartstrings despite her best efforts to silence it. "What's the plan?" she asked finally, her voice resigned but firm. Alan smiled, a slow, calculating smile that sent a shiver down Claire's spine. "Good girl. We'll get your mother out, but it won't be easy. We'll need to be careful, precise, one wrong move, and it's over. Claire nodded, her mind already racing with the possibilities, dangers, the consequences. I'll help you, Alan, but make no mistake. If this goes wrong, if anything happens to me, I will make sure you pay the price. You will not drag me down with you. Alan nodded, accepting her terms without hesitation. He knew the risks, knew that he was walking a razor's edge, but he also knew that he couldn't do this alone. With Claire by his side, he stood a chance of pulling off the impossible. As they began to lay the groundwork for their plan, Claire couldn't help but feel a gnawing sense of dread. She was stepping back into a world she had tried so hard to escape, a world of lies, deceit, and danger. There was no turning back now. Her father had forced her hand, and she would play the game to its bitter end. And as for Alan, his thoughts were only of Jordan. He had promised her he would bring her back, that they would be together again, and he intended to keep that promise, no matter the cost. But in the dark corners of his mind, Alan couldn't shake the feeling that he was losing control, that the daughter he had once known was slipping further and further away from him. And as the plan unfolded, he would come to realize that Claire was no longer the obedient child he had once molded. She was a force of her own, a wild card in a game where the stakes were higher than ever before. As the days turned into weeks, the tension between father and daughter grew, each of them walking a tightrope between loyalty and betrayal. And as the day of reckoning approached, they both knew that there could only be one outcome: freedom for Jordan, or the complete and utter destruction of everything they had fought for. In the end, the truth would come out. And when it did, the lives of those caught in the crossfire, he changed forever.